Well, hello there, Minecrafters. Thanks for coming by. We are back in the escape branch, as you can see, in Diversity 2 Developer Commentary. This is the mechanics episode, or actually part 2. Last time I had mentioned at the end, this episode was getting a bit too long, so I decided to split it up into 2 parts. So we'll continue on with that. Again, spoilers, guys. Definitely play the map. If you're watching this, play the map first. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to ruin it for you. But without further ado, here we go into the trap section. All right, the first one here, the emerald one, is pretty basic. It's a fire charge trap when you set off these tripwires. But the thing is, the dispensers are actually rechargeable, and it's a pretty cool little trick because as soon as you hit it will always fire them off. And the way that's happening is, let me just show you. Any of these that get set off, I wonder why I have, that's weird. I wonder why I have coal ore there. It's going to fill the command here, the redstone block, whatever. They're all the same because they are all, no, I'm going to have to get a torch because you're not going to be able to see. They're all the same. Here we go. And let me just... Oh, there's the water one. You can see here it's actually changing these right here and activating these command blocks, which are going to fill the dispenser. And the same oh darn it, the same redstone block there is going to activate it at the same time. You see there we go. I ruined the other one. So it's always filling it, and then it's activating it anyway, and then you've got your onk there. All right, moving on to the gold one here, and by the way, this is not the first take for this section. I'm going to try to explain this. It is very difficult to try and explain this mechanic to you, but bear with me. I will do my best. Now, I absolutely love this mechanic here, and I've wanted to use this for quite a while. In fact, I think I wanted to use this type of trap in my original complex map, definitely in Diversity 1, but we didn't have the commands to pull this off properly, and I didn't have the experience, and I don't even know if it would have been possible. Definitely 1.8 is what I needed to pull this off. Now, I should tell you that I'm going to skip the water one and the lava one just because there's not really any mechanics behind that. I don't know what we could talk about besides the final door, and I've already talked about that. But this one here, I think, probably inspired by something I saw maybe in a movie or something. Definitely that Indiana Jones Tomb Raider type thing that I've been talking about. The moving blocks here. This one has a lever that you can shut off completely, and then they will stay closed. That's really important. We don't want it to stay open and then have the players be able to just easily jump through there. And then you can restart it there. Now, the biggest thing about this one is it was extremely finicky, and mostly because easily breakable or cheatable. I had to come up with some ways to prevent that. And I imagined players would do this. I knew players would try and do that and try and force the pistons out of place. So I had to come up with some ways to eliminate that way that would work. And I'll try to explain that stuff. But again, I said this is not my first take doing this. Anyway, this is a copy of that. Not a copy, but this is the same type of circuit from. We talked about this in the parkour episode with the moving platforms. We also talked about this in the trivia branch with the moving target with the archery of the hay and the emerald block or the emerald ore, as well as the moving redstone ore consequence. I'll just start here. Watch this. We've got this circuit happening here. We've got a redstone block that gets placed here, which immediately gets changed to clay. So it gives you a little pulse. And let me just do that. And then it sets these fill commands here, and then gets reset down at the back to restart that circuit. So at the back there's a redstone block command that sets it over here. But these fill commands here, they are fill replace commands. Extremely important in this case to help with the ending there. But we're only looking for redstone block and changing it to clay. And the opposite over here, we're only looking for clay blocks and changing it to redstone. That's all of these blocks right here. all the way from here to the end, and including the opposite side of these pistons over here. Now, the biggest problem with this mechanic, and let me just turn it off so we can... Is it this one that's going on? The biggest problem with this mechanic is this this awesome little trick you can do with sticky pistons. I love this little thing. In fact, in Diversity 1, I use this mechanic specifically. It's the base around the entire puzzle of the last puzzle in Diversity 1. And that is if you set a very short pulse to a sticky piston. There we go. It can leave the block in place. Now, imagine if it was the case in here, if the pistons retracted and the blocks were stayed in place, and that actually did happen in some earlier releases. So I had to come up with some ways to specifically prevent that. A lot of map breakers use this. I use it all the time, so you definitely can use this to your advantage, but in this case, it'll mess up the map. So had to come up with a way to prevent that, and the way I did that was well, the only way that could happen is if the player did this, basically. So the first thing I do is I've got some test for checks in place. I'm going to test if this block here is redstone. If it's not redstone, then none of the circuit can actually happen. So if you watch this, it gets changed to glass, and if I do it again, see how I've got it on, but it can't do the thing again until it until it knows it's a redstone. So it has to check if that's a redstone block, which gets reset after a short delay. But over here we've got some other commands here that basically set this circuit. Now, as I said, this is the same type of circuit in the parkour branch where the platforms move. What happens here, the other thing that can happen is that when they flicker this on and off, we could have multiple signals going through because we're setting this block. And if that was to happen, then these blocks would go in and out like really, really fast and mess up that whole section and possibly break even more. So to prevent that, I have to eliminate this entire circuit when the player wants to reset it. Now, just like in our talk in the parkour branch, if we eliminate it for only a short second, like less than 3 ticks, I think, there's still going to be some power that's on these repeaters, and that residual power will stay active unless you eliminate the powered repeaters for at least 3 ticks, I believe. I think it's 3 ticks. So what I do is when I shut it off, watch this strip here, it changes it to, I'm going to shut it off here, it changes it to a line of stone. So it's eliminating any chance for residual power. And then it reclones in this section here. This is the master, basically. These are the commands. I just clone that in, and then this circuit is easily replayable. Up here, when we shut it off, up here, it does a few checks here, or it fills. That's where it fills with stone, and then it does this delay, and then it sets that back to glass. Is that where it sets it back to glass, I think? Or I'm not sure where it sets it back to glass. But anyway, doesn't really matter. There's a delay there that does set it back to, or back to redstone, I meant to say. Yeah, actually I think that is it. Redstone? There, it is right there. Okay, so it has to do this delay, then it sets it back to redstone, and then the whole thing is resettable. And that's to prevent the blocks from getting stuck in place. So then we have this next section here. This is a really small thing here, but I wanted to point it out. We have the bloody sand of all the failed players who couldn't get the glory of the cyan wool. We've got the stone pressure plates, which kind of signify using stone from the original adventure maps. We didn't have iron pressure plates or anything like that. But underneath here, we have the damage commands, which I kind of have mixed feelings about, because when you die, it says you were killed by magic, which does take you out of the context of the map, because remember, this is supposed to be technology against you, not magic, although in the end, I guess it kind of is like an evil Pharaoh. But anyway, it's supposed to kind of make the player think they're going through a redstone map, not a command block map. But the problem is, because we're in peaceful to prevent hunger, I had to put something down there that would hurt the player, because if you're in peaceful and you get suffocated, you constantly regenerate, and it takes forever to kill the player. And because the walls are opening and closing, there's not really any challenge. They'll just lose like a half a heart and regenerate, and then they can jump on. So I needed a bit of a challenge. That was, I guess, for my purpose, kind of the easiest way to do it. But I still don't really like that idea. Of course, there's glowstone. I mentioned this before, just for recording purposes. Another thing I'm not entirely happy about, but it's glowstone is kind of like gold, so I thought it would be okay there. And then at the back, we have let me get to the end here. We have the Ankh in the chest here, but this is also really important. A section here I had in some original releases where the player, because of the way the circuit was going, and that little mechanic where you can make the blocks stay in place, I had a problem where the blocks would stay in place. You'd get the Ankh, and you couldn't leave. So without going into creative or breaking the map. So that's definitely a no-no. We want to have the map playable without any problems. So what I did, and I mentioned this before, I guess that's not any point, I do that. We have a fill replace command with gold blocks. So it changes all these blocks to gold, and then if perchance they do that, if they do that part where the blocks stay out from the sticky pistons, it is resettable, but it only changes it from gold and redstone blocks instead of the clay. Oh, come on. Instead of the clay, like I did before. The reason is because this circuit over here, as I said, is only looking for, I'm going to creative mode, is only looking for clay, is only, not that one, is only looking for clay here. So it's not going to be able to even move those pistons because they're gold now. And that's just in case this is in the middle of a circuit. The other thing is it sets a clay block here so that if the player tries to set it here, there's no way they can start that circuit back up. That's just in case. I guess it's it's preventing you from your friend pranking you, because if the guy's back here changing this and you've already won, you could possibly get yourself stuck. So all of that, all of that is to prevent cheaters and people from unintentionally breaking the map. Oh, that was a mouthful. This one is extremely similar to the other one we just looked at. But what's happening here is when I press this button, I'm actually pushing over sand, and I'm pushing, and I'm placing barrier blocks underneath of it. Back here, let me. Ooh, I really don't want to break something I'm not supposed to. Again, one command block is going to activate a bunch of stuff. It sets it here, and then these all get triggered. Oh boy, look at all these commands. What's happening here is I've got these obsidian so that the pistons, let me see if I can do this. How can I activate this? Let's do it with a button right here. This is, oh man, this is so complicated to try and talk to you guys about. Let's see. Does that activate it? It does activate it. Okay. So let's just take a gander here. Watch this here. There we go. You can see the pistons appear, push the sand out. At the same time, barrier blocks are getting placed under here. It's getting a fill command of all barrier blocks so that the sand can all push into the center and not fall. And then after a short delay, I think this is the last command here. Cloning. I think it's cloning this. I believe it's cloning this so it resets. Because once you have that in place, you have to reset the sand all the way in there. If I show you, watch the line of sand there. Pushes it in, and then it clones it back. You can see there. Pushes the old sand out, and then a whole new thing gets set in. It looks like it's kind of pushing it back, but it's not. And then what's happens here is these are all the fill air commands. So it's going a short delay on each one. All that's happening for visual effect is you press the button and watch this. It all removes like that. So it's filling all those with air, and that's essentially how that thing works there. The reason the obsidian is there is because if they were able to press it, a few times, you don't want something to get stuck and then the other piston push the other one out of the way. Oh man, so much testing had to be done with this. That's the best I can explain it. And then also down here, somebody asked me about this. This is a kill command just in case. Sometimes Minecraft screws up and you don't die from fall height. Anyway, that's to kill you in case you did and you wouldn't be stuck down here. This is carpet on hoppers, which means you can throw something and it'll go back in there. And what's happening over here is it activates, everything gets placed into this hopper, and then it activates a clock. So if I just do this, watch. Oh, no. Okay, wait. See if we can be quick enough. There we go. Activates a clock, and then the clock basically removes everything from that hopper. So anytime there's something in the hopper, it'll remove it. And that just keeps it so it doesn't clog up. Alright guys, now we're going to look at the item frame puzzle. I was really proud of this one. I've always, since they came out, I wanted to do an item frame puzzle. I'm not going to show you how this worked because it's the same way that the creeper door worked and everything else, just making command blocks make it look like redstone dust doing it. Little bit, I think it's actually a little bit easier. You can do a lot more stuff with it. But anyway, there is a way to test for these at a rotation. Now, I actually don't know how to do that, so I didn't do it that way. I kind of cheated this one, but it has the same effect. So is that really cheating? Let me show you what's happening. Back here, yeah, we have a clock. The clock is actually activated based on whether that is this one right here is being turned or not. Now, how am I going to do this without breaking anything? Let's go behind. There we go. This is what's actually behind this section. I've got redstone dust. I've got barriers so they don't cross. And we can actually look at this. Now, you can see the power 1 there. Power 0, power 0. And now what I'm looking at is right here. Now, I'm not sure if that's cut off or not, but that says power 1. If I'm looking at the next one, it says power 0. Depending on what I have this turned to, you'll see now it says power 4. It says right here is power 3. So you kind of get the idea that the more you have this turned all the way, the further the power signal will go. And the furthest one that's on is going to be 1. And then when it's off, there's nothing, there's going to be 0. So what I'm doing over here is I've got this already set up to the proper rotation here. And that is the what's it doing? Is it testing for each one? It's testing for I think that's useless now, to be honest. It's testing for each one of these blocks to be a power level of 1. This was an old way. I was going to do a test for blocks, but it was getting too complicated. But anyway, what I'm doing is I'm actually testing for the proper, this is making me laugh, the proper level of 1. So this is what the actual correct solution looks like. So this one would be 1 right there. This one would be 1 right there. The green one would be 1, I think at wherever it stops. Right there, and then the bottom one is the second space, and we're actually testing for that to be right over in this section. So when the players have each one of these in the power level 1 on whatever block it is supposed to be at, it's going to set off this little, is this an AND gate? AND gate or not gate or whatever, some sort of thing. Basically, all these torches have to be off, which then can activate this torch, which then sets this block, and then it activates this old chain reaction. Let me see if I can do that really quickly. Let's do this. Let's just eliminate this, set block to air. That's a quick way to bypass that. You'll see all these fall down. Actually, I'm going to give you a better view. You'll see all this gets removed. Set block air, all of it removed, and then the sand falls off. And then for some reason, these item frames, even though I've killed them, they stay around. I don't really know what's up with that, but that's the end sequence right there. And then, yeah, so then you've got all these, excuse me, at the end there. And then that gets rid of all item frames and skulls. So hopefully that makes sense. And finally, we're going to move on to the evil Pharaoh Steve here. Yeah, there we go. A good Pharaoh Steve, I meant to say. Spoilers. And these little, look, it's like a little stickman body. That's what I was trying to go for there. Either that or 206 bones. I've seen that in a map before. You can see it opens up here, so you can actually leave the map. But let me show you what's happening. Watch this circuit down here. As soon as you open this trap chest, it's activating a clock. Now let's keep that clock on. How can I do that? I think if I, you know what? Actually, if I change this to redstone, there we go. It's fully activated, and without letting any lava out, I'm just actually going to get a torch, so you guys can see a little bit better. I should really light this stuff up when I'm making it. Anyway, there we go. So what we're going to be doing is the cheater man's way, or the cheater woman's, or the cheater map maker's way of testing for an item. We're going to clear it, and if we can clear it, so it's testing basically for us. If we have a skull in our inventory, it's going to activate this command, which is going to set off all these commands. So we've got this execute play sound. If we set that off here, you'll hear it. It's just a really freaky, scary sound. It changes the difficulty to normal, and then it actually, you can, if you notice, it says destroy. The reason the destroys there is so that we get the blasting particle effect. I don't want to remove that of this chest blowing up. So basically, to give the idea that the skeleton bursts out of that chest, and then it gives you the spawn points in case you die. Over here we got a little delay. This is the summon command. So we've actually done the set your difficulty to normal and then summon the skeleton. If you did it opposite, it wouldn't really work. But we're going to summon the skeleton. He's invulnerable, so you can't hurt him, and he's evil Pharaoh Steve with, this doesn't work anymore, with mobs. And then equipment with the skull as the head. And then over here we have the Telrock command, which has the beginning bracket thing here with the onk. That's to nod back to classic adventure maps. I talked about that last time. And then it, actually I don't need, that's setting a lever somewhere. I don't know what that's doing. That might be part of the reset. I have a reset behind. But as soon as we grab this skull, and I don't even have to grab it. I could just, you know what? I'm going to give myself that P. Skull. Watch this. There we go. He breaks out of there. He's summoned. His head's there because we didn't actually pick it up. Heads look so much better. Oh yeah, it activated again. And then he wants to try and kill us. Back here we have a reset. I talked about this before. Make sure your maps are resettable. So I have a way I can easily do this. If I remove that, it'll reset that whole... Actually, let's do it. There we go. Kills everything, resets everything. Using the clone command again, we've got this in the clone so that we don't have to type out some crazy command like the book in the beginning. But it's all set there, and then if we grab this again, it's all resettable. Yeah, there we go. And then here, there we go. We finally get our wool. So, oh boy, guys, there's a lot to go on with that one. Oh, we have a fresh hub here. New copy when I was recording. Anyway, there is a lot of stuff in that escape branch. My best advice would be to break it apart, take a look at it, use what you can if you're building your own map or whatever. I hope that it made sense to you. Again, I'm a much better builder than I am explainer. But thank you so much for watching, guys. We are going to be going into, Labyrinthian next time, which is a stupid word. But the Labyrinthian maze branch, we're going to be talking about that. I think I can put it all into one episode. I think I can do the commands. There's not really much commands there. I want to go over some portal stuff. But I will see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for sticking by this series, and enjoy your Minecrafting.